All right, here we go. We're off and running. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making this edition of Eagles Now a part of your day or evening. Coming up, will the Eagles make some splash moves in NFL free agency coming up this offseason by clearing up some cap space? This show is designed to inform all of you from a cap standpoint, because we're going to take a look at easy ways for the Eagles to clear up some cap space, to get some more flexibility looking ahead to NFL free agency. Let's do it. Are you ready to go? I'm ready to go. Let's fly. With that, let's first take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles offseason profile. Eagles coming off a year in which they won double-digit games for the fourth year in a row under Nick Sirianni, made the playoffs for the fifth straight year, but of course, they were bounced in the wild card round against the San Francisco 49ers. And so there's some pressure on this Eagles organization to get back to being that elite team, a team that can contend for a Super Bowl, especially coming off a year in which they were average on offense despite having the most expensive offense in the NFL as far as cash spent, and it really spoiled what was another terrific year for this Eagles defense led by Vic Fangio. And so Philadelphia in the 2026 NFL Draft, which this year is across the state in Pittsburgh, has the 23rd overall pick. And the Eagles are well positioned from a draft picks point of view. They have 8 picks all within the first 5 rounds. And we know that Howie Roseman during draft weekend is going to wheel and deal to move up the draft board or perhaps move down in the draft and compile picks either for this year or future years. That's just how Howie does his business. Going into free agency, which is before the NFL draft. Free agency coming up in just a couple of weeks. March 9th is that legal tampering window. NFL draft is at the end of April. The Eagles have $18.1 million in available cap room because business is booming in the NFL. The salary cap increasing again for all 32 teams across the league. It is going to be over $300 million. This offseason, compared to prior off seasons, Howie Roseman and the Birds do not have as much flexibility as they've had. Howie's a little bit more cash strapped, which is why I looked into ways that the Eagles can take avenues in which they can travel down to create some cap dollars. The Eagles have, as we know, kicked a lot of these contracts down the road with some of those void years, which are starting to hit the Eagles and will continue to hit the Eagles over the next few years. By design, though, it's kind of a smart strategy. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman are doing this knowing that the salary cap is on this trajectory where over the last few years, it's skyrocketed. And it's going to continue to go up as long as the business model for the NFL continues to thrive. But this offseason, Howie just doesn't have as many dollars to spend as he's had over the last few years. Plus, he's handed out a lot of big money deals, and he signed a lot of his own players to contract extensions. With all of that being said, though, there are ways here for the Eagles to create and clear up cap space to gain some of that aforementioned flexibility. If they cut Michael Carter, the trade acquisition going into the deadline, who barely did anything for the Eagles can save $8.3 million. The dead cap number, if they cut him pre-June 1, is only $1.3 million. This is a move that makes a lot of sense for the Eagles. Michael Carter hasn't played great football over the last couple of years. Now, a couple years ago, he was definitely one of the top slot nickel corners in the NFL. The Eagles started to cross-train him at safety. There are some concerns there. Andrew Makuba coming off that broken ankle. Reed Blankenship is going to be a free agent. He could get paid. So maybe the Eagles have plans to move Michael Carter to safety. If they don't, Cooper DeJean's playing in the slot. Does it make sense to have Michael Carter on the team? He can't play on the outside. Cooper DeJean doesn't want to play on the outside. He prefers to stay on the inside so that he can be utilized like a Swiss Army knife. So $8.3 million is a significant chunk of change if the Eagles let go of Michael Carter. Then there's Keely Ringo. If the Eagles were to cut Keely, Philadelphia would save $1.1 million. That, of course, pales in comparison to the number for Michael Carter. The dead cap number for Ringo, if he were to get cut, $205,000. The upside of Ringo as a player. He's an awful corner with no feel, no instincts, and lacks lateral speed. To his credit, though, he has developed, thanks to that straight line speed and his size, into one of the best gunners on special teams across the NFL. And when you have an elite gunner who can make consistent plays on special teams at $1.1 million, he does have some value. This one's a little bit controversial. I certainly see why, and we'll talk more about that here in just a moment. If the Eagles cut right guard Tyler Steen, former third-round pick from a couple of years ago out of Alabama, he was a college offensive tackle at Bama and Vanderbilt, the Eagles would save $3.6 million. The dead money charge is low. It's only $295,000. So Philadelphia would be able to save $3.5 million. They would only make this move if the Eagles can find, or if they like, a better option at right guard. So people did not like this on Twitter. A lot of people don't realize that I'm throwing these scenarios out there as options. I'm not sharing my opinion. Tyler Steen is a young offensive lineman on an affordable contract who is one of the lone bright spots along an offensive line last year, which otherwise struggled outside of Steen. And he graded out well, according to Pro Football Focus. Overall grade 71.6. That ranks 17th out of 81 guards in the NFL, accounting for both right guards and left guards. Pass blocking grade 74. That was 11th. Run blocking grade 71.8. 17th. Pretty good. Gave up 2 sacks. That ranked 22nd at the position. Only 1 quarterback hit inside the top 10. He did give up 36 pressures, 77th, but the players around him, Cam Jurgens, played awful. Been getting stem cell treatment in Colombia. Lane Johnson, out of the lineup. Fred Johnson, not Lane Johnson. So, of course, context is important there. I'm not saying the Eagles will cut Tyler Steen, okay? But if they do, it's an option to create about $3.5 million. Jacorian Bennett, the trade acquisition from prior to the year. I like the move. 4-3 corner, had played well in the past, but just doesn't have really good ball instincts and doesn't have a really good feel. Kind of like Kelee Ringo a little bit. If the Eagles were to cut him, it would save Philadelphia $1.1 million. There's $0 in dead money if the Eagles were to cut Jacorian Bennett. I saw one clown on Twitter saying, Eagles aren't going to have any corners if you move on from Ringo, Bennett, and Michael Carter. Well, they still have Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Mac McWilliams. That's 3 corners. Teams on the 53 usually carry 5 or 6. Can you find 2 or 3 corners in the draft and in free agency? Yes, the Eagles can do that. So if the Eagles were to move on from all of those players, 4 of them, the money saved for Philadelphia and created would be $14.1 million. On top of the existing cap space that the Eagles already have, that would bring the Eagles' total cap space up to $32.2 million. You think we're done? No chance. Coming up next, additional ways for the Eagles to create cap dollars before the start of NFL free agency. Stay tuned for that. But first, today's Philadelphia Eagles Now is made possible thanks to our friends at Chubby's. Do you like this polo on your screen? Do you like the polo that I'm wearing? It comes from the Chubby's collection. And if you've ever worn Chubby's trunks or their shirts, their polos, you know how comfortable they are, how durable they are, and it'll allow you to look good and feel good. If you've worn any of the Chubby's products, how good did you feel? For me, I felt great. It put me in a dangerously good mood. The stretch, the effortless comfort, incredible. And when I've been wearing the shorts or the swim trunks with warm weather coming up just around the corner, my thighs were feeling great, getting the fresh air that they deserve. Chubby's makes every moment feel like Friday at 5 p.m., a moment that we work toward and build toward all week. It's so refreshing when you can walk out of the office knowing you're going to that happy hour, or you can just chill. These trunks are supportive, comfortable, and designed to say, see you never, to chafing. They dry quickly, letting you go from crushing cannonballs to cold ones in no time. You put them on, and randomly, you'll see an uptick in compliments from a lot of strangers around you. Engineered with 4-way stretch fabric that handles swimming laps just as well as it handles lounging poolside, They fit like a glove, like you've had them for ages from the first wear. Chubbies is also celebrating 15 years. The original shorts that redefine proper length shorts are back. Same iconic fit, same comfort-first design, and the same easygoing vibe that built the brand. Designed for comfort, built for stretch, and designed to give you thigh-high confidence. With over 2.6 million customers, Chubbies clearly knows how to keep thighs happy, vibes high. And again, they have the shorts, the swim trunks, the polos, and the shirts. Upgrade your wardrobe. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners 20% off when you use the code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. 20% off your order using that code CHATSPORTS. Get on it now while supplies last. All right, more ways for the Eagles to create cap room. And with that, we talk about big looming decisions for the Eagles this offseason. Two big boys along the defensive line, along the interior of this defensive line, are contract extension eligible. Both former Georgia Bulldogs and teammates. Jordan Davis, drafted in the first round in 2022 when the Eagles moved up for him. A little bit slow to start his career. He's really turned it around the last 2 seasons as he's gotten into better shape. The game and his play has gotten better and improved. And then Jalen Carter, of course, drafted a year later in 2023. He solidified himself as one of the more disruptive defensive players in all of football. If the Eagles were to give Jordan Davis a contract extension this offseason, Philadelphia could save up to $9.3 million and create additional cap space going into 2026 NFL free agency. And you think about some of the needs that the Eagles have on this roster. Offensive line is a big one. Pass rusher is another one. What happens at corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell? Do the Eagles bring back Reed Blankenship? Do they let him test the waters in free agency? Does he get paid? So Jordan Davis is a player who didn't play great to start his career because the concerns that I had for him coming out of Georgia were real. I didn't know if he was a 2-down player or a 3-down player. In 2022 and in 2023, he had flashes. There were great stops against the run. There were times where he chased down the likes of Josh Allen, and you're like, how does he do that at 6'6", 340? But he would get tired very quickly. Halfway point of last year, he started to get into better shape once he fell in love with Peloton. And this past year, I thought he played at an all-pro level. Plus, the Eagles love him for the locker room presence that he is and the leadership that he brings to this Eagles team off the field as well. So I would try to lock up Jordan Davis to a contract extension, pay one of your homegrown players, pay one of your team leaders, and pay a player who's still young and ascending and get ahead of market value here. So on top of the moves that we talked about, you give Jordan Davis that contract extension, it clears up $9+ million. Then all of a sudden, the Eagles are at $41.5 million in available cap space. They go from 18th in the NFL to 11th in available cap space going into a big free agency period. And speaking of Jordan Davis, I tweeted this out. Give me a follow on X at Chase_senior. Spotrac projects that Jordan Davis will land a contract extension worth 4 years and $82 million, worth an average annual value of $20+ million. Davis should have been an all-pro in 2025. He was tremendous, I thought, this past year. He's improved his conditioning. He's really started to scratch the surface, in my opinion, of what he can become as a player and his potential. The Eagles, as I mentioned, value him in the locker room. $20+ million, though, I'd be shocked if the Eagles paid him that. And I'm not sure he's worth that. If the Eagles can get him between $14 and $15 million, I think that is the number. At a position where the average annual value and the cost has gone up in recent years with some of these defensive tackles getting some really big deals. So if you pay him early, like this offseason, before he perhaps plays well in 2026, you can get him at a cheaper contract compared to if you wait. His 5th-year option for 2026 is already in place. It's guaranteed at $13 million. Then there's Jalen Carter. And this is an interesting decision for Howie Roseman and the Eagles. He's entering year 4. He's projected to land a much bigger contract, 4-year deal worth between $120 and $140 million, likely averaging more than $30 million per season. Defensive tackle market has taken off the last couple of years, And here are the top 5 highest paid defensive tackles in the sport. Chris Jones is at $31.75 million. Generational player. A little bit of a gap there to Milton Williams, the former Eagle, at $26 million. You think Jalen Carter and Drew Rosenhaus are taking less than Milton Williams? No chance. Zach Allen's at $25.5. Nnamdi Madubuike is at $24.5. He's got injury concerns. Aleem McNeil is at $24.2 million. So Jalen Carter is one of the most disruptive players in the NFL. He's still only 24. Turns 25 in April. Some concerns here. Are the shoulders okay? That might need some addressing this offseason. Do the Eagles have any concerns about his past? Some of the character issues? Some of the immaturity problems? Will the Eagles pay both Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis? Big decisions await there. Jordan Davis in 2025. Career year for him. Overall PFF grade, 72.6. That ranked 23rd among 134 interior defensive linemen. The pass rush grade, I think he was better than what these numbers indicate, 62.3. Not bad, but ranked 68th. Run defense. You need run defenders along the interior. You can't just go with pass rushers here. 71.6. That was 11th in the NFL. He had 40 stops. That was 4th. And then he had 5 sacks and 21 hurries. Jalen Carter had a down year, and it started off on a bad note after he spit on Dak Prescott and was ejected before he logged a snap. Then he missed close to a month with the shoulder injuries. 2 shoulder injuries on both. And so his numbers dipped, but even when he was banged up, he always gets held and double teamed. He's still produced in a couple of key areas here. Overall PFF grade, not that good. 60.1, that was 58th, but a pass rush grade, 9th, 78.8. Run defense grade has to get better there. 41.2, 112th. It's never been his strength. And he's never going to be as good as Jordan Davis because he's not 6'6", 340. He did have 30 hurries. That was 17th despite missing time. He had 41 pressures, up there among all interior defensive linemen. And then his PBUs, he does a great job of batting balls down at the line of scrimmage. 6. That ranks 2nd. Now, Howie Roseman prefers to get extensions done early. Will he wait, though, for Jalen Carter? You give him a deal worth $30+ million, he gets in trouble again, or if the shoulder injuries are a problem, you're like, man, that's a really bad contract for the team. On the other side of that, if you wait, he plays like he did in 2024 when he was the second-team All-Pro, the value goes up. And you can make the argument that he could demand the biggest contract average annual value for a defensive tackle in the National Football League. Big decisions await for Howie Roseman, and that's why he's one of the best. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I hope that you come away from this show very informed. Get your Chubby's polos right now and the swim trunks as well.